She smiled like everything was fine. People around her thought she had it all figured out. A decent job, a quiet life, even the kind of humor that made others feel safe. But behind that smile was a constant war. Every day she woke up with a weight on her chest, not from illness but from thoughts. Unstoppable, heavy, spiraling thoughts. Thoughts that whispered, "You're not good enough. You're a burden. You're stuck, and you'll never change." She didn't remember when it started. Maybe it was after that breakup. Maybe it was the childhood no one ever talked about. Maybe it was just always there. She became a master of pretending, smiling at brunch, nodding in meetings, laughing at parties, and every night crying silently in bed, wishing she could just turn her mind off. But how do you escape from a prison when you're the one who built the walls? It started small, missing one call, then a meeting, then a week of ignoring messages. She told herself she was just tired, that things would get better next week, but next week came and she couldn't even get out of bed. The thoughts got louder, the world got heavier, and the mask, it started to crack. At work, she couldn't focus. Deadlines passed, her inbox overflowed, and instead of speaking up, she disappeared. She stopped answering texts, stopped seeing friends, stopped showing up for herself. Her apartment became a reflection of her mind, cluttered, dark, cold, half-eaten meals on the counter, bills unopened, hope nowhere. She stared at herself in the mirror one night, barely recognizing the woman looking back, eyes hollow, face pale, tears that didn't even make sense anymore. "I can't keep living like this," she whispered, but the truth was, she didn't know how to live any other way. And in that silence, something inside her began to crack, not from weakness, but from the desperate need for change. Even in the stillness, her mind was never quiet. It was like living with a stranger, a cruel, relentless voice that followed her everywhere she went. "You're wasting your life. You'll never be happy. Everyone else is moving on. Why can't you?" Sometimes it felt like that voice knew her deepest fears and used them as weapons. Other times it felt like the voice was her. She tried drowning it out, with music, with noise, with sleep, but the silence always returned, and so did the voice. One night, after hours of scrolling through other people's perfect lives, she dropped her phone, covered her face, and screamed into the darkness. And that's when she heard it, a different voice. Not loud, not aggressive, but calm and clear. "You don't have to keep living like this." She sat up, looked around. No one was there, just her, but the words lingered, like an echo in her spirit, a seed planted in the soil of her suffering. She didn't know if it was God or her soul fighting to survive, but for the first time in years she listened, and for the first time in a long time she chose not to believe the lie. It wasn't a miracle, it wasn't fireworks or lightning or some dramatic intervention. It was subtle, like a breeze on a heavy day, like the sun rising without asking permission. That morning she got up, not because she felt strong, but because she was tired of feeling powerless. She didn't have a plan, didn't have energy, but she opened the curtains, let the light in, and whispered 3 words to herself: "I need help." It wasn't weakness, it was honesty. And honesty, it turns out, is where healing begins. She started small, 1 glass of water, 1 deep breath, 1 journal page. She wrote, "I feel broken, but maybe I'm not beyond repair." Later that day, scrolling again, she stumbled upon a video. Someone talking about neuroplasticity, how the brain can be rewired, how thoughts aren't facts, how suffering isn't a life sentence. It was science, but to her, it felt like hope. For the first time, she saw her mind not as an enemy, but as something that could be healed, and that realization changed everything. Healing didn't happen overnight. It came in pieces, in tiny, fragile victories that no one else could see. She began by noticing her thoughts, not judging them, not running from them, just noticing. When the old voice returned, "You'll never change," she answered. "That's not true, I already have." She started writing down every lie her mind told her, and beside each one, she wrote a new truth. Lie, I'm not worthy. Truth, I am healing, I am becoming, I am enough. Every morning she whispered affirmations, not because she believed them yet, but because she wanted to. "My thoughts are not me. I can choose a new story. I deserve peace." She prayed, sometimes with words, sometimes in silence, sometimes through tears, but she prayed. She moved her body, went outside, felt the wind, sat with the sky. She forgave herself for the days she couldn't get up, for the relationships she'd pushed away, for not knowing how to heal sooner. And slowly the prison walls began to crack, not because they vanished, but because she found the door. Progress is never a straight line, and healing? It's messy, it's painful, it's real. Some days she felt unstoppable, clear, grounded, even joyful. Other days she fell back into the darkness. There were mornings she didn't want to move, nights when the voices came back, louder than ever. Moments she questioned everything. Is this working? Am I really changing? What if I never feel whole? And yet, this time was different, because now, when she fell, she didn't stay down. She remembered her tools: breathwork, prayer, journaling, movement. She remembered her progress. I'm not who I was. And most of all, she remembered her why. She had tasted freedom, and she wasn't going back. There was power in showing up, even on the hard days. There was strength in saying, today was rough, but I'm still here. She no longer feared the bad days, because she had proven, time and time again, that she could survive them, and not just survive, but rise from them stronger. One morning, without thinking, she passed by the mirror and didn't look away. For the first time in what felt like years, she saw herself. Not the broken version, not the ashamed version, but the version that had fought and survived. Her eyes didn't look empty anymore. Her posture wasn't collapsed in defeat. She was still healing, but there was a quiet confidence now, a light that hadn't been there before. She no longer defined herself by her pain. She stopped calling herself damaged. She wasn't the girl who used to cry every night. She was the woman who learned to stand back up. She changed the way she spoke to herself. No more self-hate, no more mental punishments, just truth, grace, and compassion. And it rippled outward. In her friendships, in her work, in her purpose, people began to notice. They asked, "You seem different, happier, lighter." And she smiled, not because life was perfect, but because now she had power, she had tools, she had faith, she had herself. She didn't go back to who she used to be. She couldn't, because that version of her, the one who lived in fear, who obeyed every negative thought, who carried shame like a second skin, was gone. In her place stood someone reborn, not flawless, not unshakable, but aware, awake, and deeply rooted in truth. She had learned how to sit with pain without becoming it. She had learned to question her thoughts and choose better ones. She had learned that healing isn't about forgetting the past, but about reclaiming your future. She no longer begged for peace. She created it. She no longer waited for love. She gave it to herself, and she no longer feared the darkness because she had found her light. Now when she meets someone struggling, she sees it, the familiar sadness, the silent fight, and she whispers, "You're not crazy, you're not broken, you're not alone." Because she knows what nearly destroyed her was the very thing that revealed her strength. Her mind had once been a prison, but now it's her powerhouse, her sanctuary, her ally. She was trapped by her own thoughts until she reprogrammed her mind and discovered the truth. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. And from that moment on, she was never the same again.